Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com. I am Kevin Rogers as we get set for today's show, and very excited because we're bringing on veteran football handicapper Stephen Nover. He will join us in just a moment, and we will look at the NFL card for week number 5. Already one game in the books as the Rams beat the Seahawks last night in Seattle. So now we'll look ahead to the card with Stephen coming up in just a moment. But before we get to Mr. Nover, let's talk about BetMGM. They are the king of sports books. And right now there is a great promotion going on for first-time players. If you bet $10, you win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. So if you bet on any NFL money line and your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Now, again, for new players only, and you must be 21 or older, and it is legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, West Virginia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Virginia, Iowa, Washington, D.C., and Arizona. Full terms and conditions apply. BetMGM, they are the king of sports books. So now we welcome in, for the first time to the Daily Insider, Stephen Nover. And Stephen Nover, who has been around the sports handicapping game for a long time. Very excited for him to be here. Stephen, good to see you again. How are you?
Nice to see you, Kevin. I always enjoy talking football with you.
And look, you've been on fire in the NFL. You had another winner last night in the Rams-Seahawks game. And before we get to this weekend, let's look back at last night and your thoughts there with the Rams. They pulled away from Seattle 26-17. Obviously, Russell Wilson getting hurt doesn't help Seattle's cause. But Matthew Stafford, he had a slow start. He played better in the second half. What did you make of last night's victory by the Rams?
A couple of takeaways. Robert Woods got back to being part of that game. He had a monster performance. But I had the under there, and part of my handicap was just Aaron Donald. I mean, this guy's just a nightmare for Seattle. He's got something like 13 lifetime sacks against them, and they've never been able to block him. He caused a lot of havoc again, and this now Seattle has maybe without Russell Wilson. We could be looking at Geno Smith. Who knows, Kevin? A week from now, we could be seeing a matchup of Geno Smith against Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the Rams, Stephen, really bounced back, because that was a spot for them off the Arizona loss, where this NFC West, I mean, and we see San Francisco playing Arizona Sunday, but this NFC West, where it seemed like the Rams were going to be the runaway team, and then Arizona's now come out and they're undefeated. But, I looked at that line last night and I saw Seattle, you don't get them as a home dog that often, but also it kind of seemed like, all right, maybe they're not the play. And obviously Russell Wilson getting hurt messed things up. But what do you think about LA, though, moving forward and their prospects in the NFC?
Yeah, best division in football. And big fan of Sean McVay. He needed to get an upgrade at quarterback, and he did that with Stafford. And they're very much live to win the Super Bowl. And that division just sharpens them up. It's hard to be at the top of your game every week, where they suffered that loss to the Cardinals. Stafford still, is new with that offense. Thinks he's a big upgrade, but it's far from a perfect offense. So I could see them even being better down the road.
I want to take a look now, Stephen, at Sunday's card, and let's begin with the Packers. And I know you followed the Packers for a very long time, and week 1, Green Bay looked terrible against New Orleans, but that seems like a memory now because they've won 3 in a row, and they are at the top of the NFC North, but they're playing a pretty good Bengals team, or at least a team that's played well so far. I mean, Cincinnati's not going to run away with the AFC North, but 3-1 for the Bengals. Now you're getting them as a short underdog here at home. What are your thoughts here with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers as a road favorite?
I think the Bengals are legitimate. I think they've improved. I think their defensive line is very underrated. Their offensive line, I think, has given up something like 1 sack in the last 2 weeks. Green Bay has been putting together this 3-game win streak, and they've done it without their 2 best offensive linemen. Bakateri and Jenkins, and now they lose their top person in the secondary, cornerback Jari Alexander. That's really going to hurt them depth-wise against the Bengals, who probably get Higgins back, giving them 3 outstanding wide receivers. This is a real tough spot for Green Bay. A straight-up Bengals upset win would not shock me in the least here, Kevin.
Yeah, and it feels like the public will be on Green Bay this week, just seeing how they played. And look, it's going to be a really good matchup here, seeing Aaron Rodgers and also Joe Burrow. He's played well in the underdog role already a few times so far this season. Now, taking a look at some of the other matchups in the NFL, I want your thoughts on this one. This is a very intriguing game. Steelers hosting the Broncos, and Pittsburgh. They beat Buffalo week 1, but they had the block punt return for a touchdown. The offense wasn't great. Buffalo's offense just did nothing in the second half. And then Pittsburgh's offense, Steve, in the last 3 weeks, 17 or less every single game. They've lost all 3 of them. Good competition, though. Denver on the other side, they played their best competition last week, and Baltimore put them down. Teddy Bridgewater's a question mark. So what do you see with this game on Sunday between these 2 teams? Denver trying to show that they're not a fluke, and Pittsburgh is trying to end their losing streak.
I was afraid you're going to ask me about this game, Kevin. I've been asked about this game all week, and I to be honest, I'm empty. I'm empty on it. I don't know Bridgewater's status yet. I don't know Roethlisberger. He's just a shadow of himself. He's already really banged up. Pittsburgh is kind of in desperation mode. They have a history of coming through for Tomlin in these home situations. Denver finally was asked to step up after playing 3 patsies to start the season, where Bridgewater was putting up these unbelievable numbers. He's not that good of a quarterback. They couldn't do it against Baltimore. I don't trust Fangio in this situation. He may have the better team, but I'm not going to get involved with the game. But I wouldn't trust Denver here.
Now, another AFC matchup, Stephen, Tennessee and Jacksonville. And obviously, Urban Meyer under fire for everything that happened last week. And Jacksonville had a good chance against Cincinnati, up 14-0. I personally don't have a problem with going for it on 4th and goal before the half, trying to make it 21-0. It failed, and then they end up losing the game by 3. But Tennessee off a tough loss in overtime last week to the Jets, and now Tennessee trying not to fall back once again as a road favorite. What are your thoughts with the Jags and the Titans?
Well, Urban's just been a disaster. But having said that, as you pointed out, Jaguars led the Bengals by 2 touchdowns. The Jaguars were ahead of the Cardinals by 9 points. Cardinals are unbeaten. A play here and there that changed the momentum, and Jacksonville would have a different record, and probably this point spread would be different. From what I'm hearing, Jacksonville's had a good week of practices despite Meyer's distractions to this team. Hard to lay road points in a division game with Tennessee, considering how banged up they are and how poorly their offensive line has played this year. Tennessee's given up 17 sacks. That's the most of any team in the NFL right now. Derrick Henry's going to do his thing. He's a monster, but Tennessee's got a lot of injuries. Their defense is bad, and keep an eye on their punting situation. Kern may be out another week, and that really leaves the Titans hurting at punting, and their place kicking isn't much better either.
Now, another AFC South team, Stephen, that's an underdog, the Houston Texans. I find this very interesting, this line, because everyone knows that Bill Belichick handles the rookie quarterbacks, and they're off this tough loss to Tampa Bay last week, the Brady-Belichick reunion, but yet New England laying nearly double digits on the road. I know Houston got blown out by Buffalo last week. They have not played well with Davis Mills at quarterback. Do you think it's a little rich, this line coming up in Houston on Sunday?
The importance of quarterbacks in the NFL, it may be a square thing to say, Kevin, but it can't be underestimated. The Texans, they give a good effort. Their defense hangs in there, but Davis Mills just sinks them. He's a developmental quarterback. He has no business starting this year. Circumstances forced it to happen. I think the Texans probably should have gone out and gotten some kind of quarterback. Maybe they get Tyrod Taylor back next week, but they are impossible to back with Davis Mills. Having said that, though, the Patriots are not built to be covering point spreads in this margin. the total, you want to look under on that total. It's scary though, because in today's offensive skewed towards offenses, a total under 40. It's like back in the day, Kevin. It's like trying to go under a 36 or something. And it's Belichick. Texans aren't going to score much here, so Belichick may want to even actually open up things for Mac Jones. Just see what he can do. This is his opportunity. Let him air the ball out instead of always being this conservative, grind out type of team. This is their chance to give Mac Jones a chance to do some downfield passing.
Now, out in Las Vegas, Stephen, Raiders-Bears, very intriguing game out at Allegiant Stadium. And Justin Fields, he's going to be the guy moving forward, assuming he doesn't get hurt for Matt Nagy, who, again, has botched this whole thing up, it seems like since day one, by, Andy Dalton's the guy, Justin Fields, I don't know, we got to see. And now Fields is the guy. But the Raiders, off this loss to the Chargers on Monday night, where they finally got handled for the first time this season. Now they're back at home. And we know what their offense has done. Chicago, good defensively, not great offensively. What are your thoughts here with the Raiders now back at home trying to bounce back from the Monday night loss to the Chargers?
Well, I'd like to see what Fields can do. He was totally mismatched against the Browns when he was thrown into service, and he started looking a little better last week. That was a very weak defense, though, he faced. Raiders' defense is much improved this season. Fields, though, he brings that element, that running element to the game, and in the big arm. He's certainly the right choice for the Bears. They shouldn't have screwed around with Dalton, and they wasted millions on Dalton. And interesting situation for the Raiders. I hate, though, to lay points on a team where their offensive line is still kind of in transition. Their ground game isn't there. Jacobs isn't nearly 100% yet. They wasted money on Kenyon Drake. Why even bring him in there if they're not going to use him? He's always been a good spot player before. So I've been fading the Raiders this year, Kevin, and I took a couple losses because of it early in the season. But not a huge fan of the Raiders.
Another game out west, Stephen. And again, now this is the letdown spot potentially for Arizona. The Cardinals, they had a great performance against the Rams last week. They're 4-0. They've been great as an underdog. Now they're back as a favorite. San Francisco, it's interesting with them, 2-0 on the road, and they laid points against the Packers, lost at the end. They laid points against the Seahawks, lost at home. Now you're getting points with them. Granted, Jimmy Garoppolo may not play, and Trey Lance could get his first start. But is this the time where San Francisco can bounce back, or do you think Arizona keeps on rolling?
Could happen for the 49ers. If I were the 49ers, I'd much rather be playing Trey Lance rather than Garoppolo at less than 100%. Even if Garoppolo was 100%, I'd be going with Trey Lance. He has that it factor. He's got tremendous mobility. Cardinals could have a letdown. You'd think they wouldn't, though, in this division game. But Kingsbury, terrible record as a favorite with the Cardinals. I'm top of my head, I think it's something like 1-8 against the spread, where the 49ers have not been a good home favorite, but they've been a good underdog. Something like 10-4 against the spread as a dog with Shanahan. So, again, a straight-up 49ers victory would not surprise me here. On the flip side, Kyler Murray, if I have an MVP vote, which I don't, he would be my MVP so far for the first part of the season. Very, very explosive offense. And it's part of that NFC West, which we talked about before. It's very tough division.
And also with Cliff Kingsbury, great road underdog. And we saw that last week in the win at Tennessee in week 1. But yeah, it's a hard team to back in the favorite role. So we'll see how that one turns out. Again, if Garoppolo plays on Sunday or if it's Trey Lance. Now, I want to wrap up with this matchup on Sunday night, Stephen. Bills and Chiefs, the rematch of the AFC Championship. Kansas City beat Buffalo twice last year, and they won in that funky Monday game that got rescheduled from Thursday. It was a rainstorm, and the Chiefs won. Josh Allen didn't really have great numbers against Kansas City last year, but now you kind of wonder in this double revenge spot if the Bills can make it a 4th straight win, or if Kansas City got some momentum from that win at Philadelphia last week.
Buffalo right now is the best team in the NFL, in my opinion. They've got the best numbers. They're the only ones that are dominant on both sides of the ball. Does that mean they can beat Kansas City? Well, they've got to clear that hurdle, but Kansas City has got defensive problems. They're giving up nearly 30 points a game. That would be higher if the Eagles didn't have all those touchdowns called back against Kansas City. Right now, the Chiefs are far from in peak form. They got defensive issues. So it's on Buffalo to win this. I realize they're on the road, but they need to clear this hurdle. And right now, as things play out, they are the better team.
Yeah, and the Chiefs right now, Stephen, obviously, in this AFC West where the Chargers are playing well, they've beaten them once. We'll see what the Raiders do. We'll see what the Broncos do. We'll see if the whole thing kind of settles back to what we thought it was, that Kansas City is the best team in the division or not. But a very intriguing game coming up on Sunday night. Before I let you go, any thoughts with the playoffs in Major League Baseball and what you've seen already and 4 games coming up today?
Well, I tried to make an overwork with the White Sox and the Astros yesterday. Didn't quite get there. Too many damn runners left in scoring position that didn't get in. It's been low scoring. The second and third games are going to be obviously different than the first games you would expect, but it's a whole different game, Kevin, with the bullpens getting involved so early. They're rested. It's you got to really just do it game by game on an individual basis.
Stephen Nover, 6-1 last week in the NFL. He's 9-2 the last Sundays in the National Football League. Check out his picks there, and also college. He's unbelievable in that too this year. So find Stephen's picks for football. We got NBA coming up in a few weeks, so looking forward to that. Stephen Nover, check him out at VegasInsider.com. Stephen, thank you so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Always good talking to you. Have a great week.
All right, you too. Thank you. That is Stephen Nover, and always good to talk to Stephen. And also, he's very good in the NBA too. When that comes out, coming up in 2 weeks. All right, I want to tell you about WinBet and the $1,000 risk-free first sports bet you could make at WinBet. When you download the WinBet mobile sports book, you can get a $1,000 risk-free first bet. That means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. And the WinBet app, it is legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, Virginia, Arizona, Tennessee, and Michigan. Must be 21 or older to play, and you can download the WinBet mobile app on iOS or Android. That is WinBet. Now let's talk some college football. Our friend Brian Edwards, and he still believes that if they change the rules in college to you have to touch someone before they hit the ground, the Gators would have tied that game last week against Kentucky.
Wait, if you touch someone before
if you have to touch the player instead of him. Remember, his knee was down.
Which one? Which play?
On the final drive against Kentucky last week, when the receiver caught it and he was down because his knee hit the ground. No one touched him, but the knee hit the ground. He would have scored.
Oh, well, I knew his knee hit the ground, so
yeah, but you want to change the rules, so you got to touch him.
Okay, yeah, sure. I
totally botched that whole thing up. So sorry.
All good. I just want my holder and my kicker to not be scared of getting blocked and go tackle the runner. They were both like, you know what I'm talking about? They were like tippy-toeing. They were worried they're about to get cleaned out, and they should have made the tackle on the field goal return.
What do you think about, before we get to the games, what do you think about Kentucky? You think Kentucky can win the SEC East, or they have to beat Georgia to do that? But do you think, or they're just or Georgia's just on such a different level that there's no way Kentucky can compete with them?
Yeah, pretty much. And the game is in Athens, which you saw how that home field advantage was nasty last week, and Arkansas just, Arkansas never really got much going offensively, but I thought Arkansas's defense played well outside of that 21-0 blitz that happened, 2 3-and-outs, and then the blocked punt. I mean, Georgia had to go for it on fourth down, I think, on both of those drives at one point, those two opening touchdown drives. But anyway, yeah, no, Kentucky can't beat Georgia. And Levis, I was impressed with him the first few weeks. I think he looked awful the last 3 weeks. I mean, he throws a good ball, and Wan'Dale Robinson is legit. But look, they lost their their best receiver last year before Robinson joined them. They lost Josh Ali. He's going to miss. Oh, wow. Georgia is next up for them after LSU, obviously, this week. Josh Ali's out for that game, and they lost their defensive tackle, Marquand McCall, as well. No, they're going to get killed at Georgia. But we'll see this week. Obviously, Stingley's out for LSU, and a lot of stuff going on there in Red Stick.
All right, let's talk about Georgia Auburn first. All right, let's hit on that one. And the Bulldogs, they've been exceptional so far this season, obviously, because that's just what they do. It's just now it's about getting over the hump against Alabama. That's kind of what it is with Kirby. But what do you think about this game? Georgia laying 14.5 at Auburn. Auburn off the big win at LSU last week, and now trying to do it again against a very difficult opponent.
Well, I've gotten clobbered going against Georgia with Arkansas and Clemson now, so I'm not looking to go against Auburn, but I do not make a habit of, or I just don't lay double digits at Auburn unless it's just an epic Alabama team. And Auburn is 31-4 straight up in their last 35 home games. They're 6-2 against the spread. Their last 8 as home dogs. I don't think JT Daniels is going to play, but Stetson Bennett has been outstanding so far this year. And this is just a hard pass for me. I mean, Bo Nix was awesome last week. I mean, 1 week after it appeared he was no longer going to be the starter at Auburn, he had the best game of his career. I mean, a legendary performance. I mean, those 2 fourth down plays were just incredible, and they had not won at Tiger Stadium since 1999. That was a monster win for Auburn. I'm not going to imply it sets up a letdown here. I mean, it's Georgia, the South's oldest rivalry. You're at home. I mean, Georgia was fired up for Arkansas as well. So this is just a hard pass for me. If Georgia hadn't have bloodied my lip a couple times already this year, I would probably go with Auburn just on principalities of getting more than 14 at home. But Georgia and Alabama have convinced me that they are the 2 best teams in the country, and I don't want to step in front of those freight trains at the moment.
Okay, what about this game, Brian, in Lexington, LSU and Kentucky? Now, it's just odd because you don't get Orgeron and LSU as a dog that often. And on the flip side, Kentucky's not a great favorite. I know they covered against Missouri earlier this year, and they had that. It was a tie game. They had that fumble recovery in the end zone after the catch, and Kentucky ended up winning. And Kentucky's had a great season, but it feels like a letdown for the Wildcats after beating the Gators last week, who they don't normally beat. LSU off the bad loss to Auburn, but yet I know Stingley's out for LSU, but it just seems like a very odd line in this game. What do you think?
I'm probably going to take LSU, and LSU is 7-0 against the spread as a road underdog under Orgeron. And it is a vintage letdown for Kentucky, having not won against Florida at home since 86, and they rushed the field and all that. And like I mentioned, Josh Ali is out, and they're starting defensive tackle McCall. But like you said, Stingley's out for LSU, and there's just a lot of noise in the system, if you will, over there in Baton Rouge right now. I mean, Orgeron, the natives are restless. He needs this win desperately. I just have not been on the right side of an LSU game all year. I had them against UCLA. I took Mississippi State at the last second when I found out Stingley was out, 2 weeks ago. I backed LSU last week. I'm 0-3 in their games. Do I like LSU this week? Yes. Am I going to play it? I don't know. Maybe. 7-0 against the spread as a road dog, and vintage letdown for Kentucky. So, and LSU has a better quarterback. Everything says LSU here. But again, I haven't been on the right side of one of their games all year.
Let's go to the Big 12 now, and a couple old SEC rivals getting at it. Oklahoma and Texas. I guess we should call this an SEC game, right? These teams aren't in the Big 12 anymore, are they? I mean, they kind of are, but not really anymore. But you have the Red River Showdown at the Cotton Bowl, and Oklahoma, Brian, has handled Texas over the years. I know Texas beat them a few years ago, but it's been a one-sided towards the Sooners. You had that crazy game last year, 4 overtimes in which Oklahoma was up early. Texas was up. Oklahoma was up. Texas tied it late. Ellinger threw that late pick in the 4th overtime, and the Sooners end up winning that game and covering. Now Oklahoma laying 3.5, 3 at some spots, 3.5 BetMGM. But what do you think about this one as far as the Longhorns? Sarkisian got them back on track after losing the Arkansas game. They played well the last few weeks, and Oklahoma hasn't had a cover since beating Western Carolina.
Yeah, I've gone against Oklahoma successfully the last 2 weeks, had West Virginia as a 17-point dog. OU needed a walk-off field goal. When I found out Skylar Thompson was going to start Saturday morning, I added K-State. And so I'm enjoying this going against Oklahoma, but now it's a small single-digit number. And Texas running back Bijan Robinson, 652 rushing yards. I believe that's second in the nation, if memory serves. 7 touchdowns, 6.2 yards per carry average. Casey Thompson has played well since taking over. Was that for the Arkansas game or after? Anyway, I think it was after the Arkansas game, but as a starter at least. And but yeah, I mean the Sooners are 0-4 against the spread against FBS teams, all one possession wins, but now with it down to 3, Oklahoma looks like the right side to me, but I can't back this team. They've just been so sloppy and it's a pass for me. I mean, if I had to pick it, I'd probably go Oklahoma as long as it's 3 and not 3 and a hook.
Now the top 5 battle in Iowa City, Penn State and Iowa. And Penn State, they won at Wisconsin this year. That was an ugly game. They held off Auburn. Iowa's got a big win at Iowa State. And look, Iowa trying to show that they're the best team in the Big Ten. And it feels like you have these two, and Ohio State lost to Oregon earlier, but they're still hanging around as well. We know they're one of the top teams. But what are your thoughts here with Iowa, the short number here against Penn State?
I'm on the Hawkeyes. If you can get it minus 125 on the money line or minus 130, that's probably the best route. I have my concerns about the Hawkeyes offense and Spencer Petras. I don't think he's, if they fall behind by 10 points this year, I don't know what they're going to do. But at home in this spot, I don't think they're going to fall behind. And they are number 2 in the country in scoring D, giving up only 11.6 points per game. They're number 7 in the nation in total defense, number 9 against the run. Penn State is no offensive juggernaut by any means. They rank 94th out of 130 FBS teams in rushing yards. They're only number 64 in scoring. Penn State's only 4-6 against the spread. Their last 10 as a road underdog. The 10 games as a road underdog during James Franklin's tenure. They are 4-6 against the spread. I mean, look, at home, less than a field goal with the way this defense is playing. And look, I will say this about Petras. He can manage a game. I mean, he's, as long as you don't fall behind, he's doing a good job. He's got a 7-1 TDI&T ratio, 62% completion percentage. And just this defense, they lead the nation in takeaways with 16. They lead the nation in interceptions, 12. They lead in turnover margin, plus 12, which those things tend to even out. But I don't know if they even out with this defense that is very, very good at creating turnovers. I like Iowa.
Final game we'll look at, Brian, Alabama and bless you, and Texas A&M. Nicholas Saban, 24-0 against former assistant coaches. And that's what happens when you face a lot of, your guys that get head coaching jobs eventually. And he beat Lane Kiffin last week and now faces Jimbo Fisher. And Texas A&M off a couple losses the last 2 weeks. Now they're a heavy dog. Alabama blew them out last year in Tuscaloosa. What do you think about this game between the Crimson Tide and Aggies?
Oh, I love Alabama in the first half. 10.5 or 11 at last look. This is my biggest play of the week by far. Alabama went 11-2 against the spread in the first half last year. They're 4-1 against the spread in the first half this year. So what is that? 15-3 ATS run in the first half. And the one non-cover in the first half this year, they were ahead 31-0 on Mercer at intermission, but they were favored by 38.5. These are their halftime leads so far this year: 27-3 against Miami and Atlanta, 31-0 to Mercer at home, 21-9 at Florida, 42-7 at home to Southern Miss, and 28-0 at home to Ole Miss. So they've been up by 12 or more in all of them, and have been up by 24 or more in 4 of them. A&M is struggling offensively, obviously. A&M's also got some injuries going on. I don't know. I don't think Caleb Chapman, the wide receiver, he's missed 3 in a row. I don't think he's going to be able to play. The quarterback, the backup, is just not very good. I mean, look, I respect the home crowd and all that, and it'll be rocking. But I think Alabama takes care of business. And I got a little bit of them at 17. I like the first half play much, much, much better. But I don't think so. It's 18 or 18.5 now, isn't it? The last look it was.
It's 18 at BetMGM right now.
Yeah, so I would lay off the game if you can get it at 17. I'm okay with a little bit of it. But the first half is the way to go. This is Old Faithful right here, and I don't know why I wasn't on it last week. I was stupid. Bet Alabama in the first half every week when it's, a somewhat competitive line, like, where you don't have to lay like 38 with Mercer. If you're laying 14 or less, you're in pretty good shape with Bama in the first half in general, but I love them this week in the first half.
And finally, in the NFL, I know that you've mentioned this on Twitter, the Giants, they have been a great road underdog under the judge and jury, Joe Judge. And they covered last week. They won outright at the Saints last week, and now they're getting 7 against the Cowboys. 3rd straight home game for Dallas. They beat Philadelphia the Monday night. They beat Carolina. Do you think this is a letdown now for the Cowboys?
No, I don't think it's a letdown for either side. I just think the Giants getting 7, I'm not turning that down. 18-3 against the spread in their last 21 as road underdogs. And, I said all offseason, this is going to be a do or die year for Daniel Jones, and he's getting it done, man. 4-1 TDI&T ratio, 7th in the NFL in passing yards with 1,184. He's got 188 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 7.0 yards per carry average. And those stats should be better. Kenny Golladay dropped a touchdown catch at Washington, and there was a holding call on like a 55-yard touchdown run by Jones in that game. The Giants should be 3-1. They should have beat the Falcons, lost by 3. Should have beat Washington like 4 different times if Golladay catches that pass. If they don't get the holding penalty on Jones's touchdown run, if the Clemson got it and jump offside when they missed the field goal, all that.
Before you get out of here, because I'm going to stay, I'm going to give you a few seconds, and you tell me how long this person keeps his job.
He'll be out by 10:30 a.m. Monday. If the lawyer paperwork, he would have been out this week. In my mind, I don't know this, but in my mind, I'm guessing that all they're doing is lawyering and paperwork to make sure they can fire him with cause to get out of this contract. I think he would have already been gone. And I think when they lose Sunday, he's going to be gone by 10:30 a.m. Monday morning.
You really think
Absolutely.
that he doesn't even last to London the next week against the Dolphins? Even if they lose to Tennessee?
Wait, even if they lose?
If they lose this week, you think he's done after this week if they lose?
Yeah, I think he would have been done already. I think the lawyers are working on paperwork to make sure they can do this fire with cause. That's what I think. I mean, dude, the team broke the huddle with 1, 2, 3 grind, and everybody started horse laughing. I mean, this guy's.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let me ask you a question on that. You're telling me if you're Urban, you screwed up. I don't know if you had this much hubris, but you screwed up to be like, I get it. It's funny. Okay, fine. You guys laughed at my expense. Okay. Or he's like, why are you laughing? Why is that funny? Like, that's where I kind of wonder, if you're like, okay, you got me. I screwed up. You got me. Fine. I'm here.
Man, those guys hate him. This is the worst hire in NFL history. And it's just been
really? You're going to NFL history? I thought Petrino with the Falcons was worse.
Urban's not going to win a game. This is Tark the Shark with the Spurs in the early 90s.
He won a few games with the Spurs. I mean, granted, it's an NBA season. You have to win games.
Bro, they fired him after like 25 games, I think.
I mean, Hugh Jackson, what did he go, like 3-30 with the Browns?
He won 3. He got a tie in there, too, somewhere.
So you're telling – so Urban Meyer – all right, Brian. So Urban Meyer –
is the worst hire in NFL history.
He has a cushy job on Fox. Just chill – do your studio stuff, and then you're good to go. You had a great college tenure. Why couldn't you just stop? Because you think you could have done something in the NFL?
He's a moron, dude. He thinks he's the smartest person in the room. He's the dumbest person in the room.
I'll be honest with you. I did not know I didn't know it was like 99.9% of the time that head coaches flew back with a team. I didn't know that. Obviously, I guess in college, if you recruit, you don't do that. But I didn't realize that was like 99.999% of the time these guys fly back. I didn't realize it was that high of a percentage.
I think it's 100%. Has anybody come up with a time that
unless you have like some kind of probably medical situation?
I don't think anybody has come up with an example of a coach not flying back. I don't think anybody has come up with that this week, and they would have if it had ever happened. I think it's 100%. He is a flippin' drama queen, D-bag.
Why? I thought he's a Gator. I mean, well, he's not a Gator. He coached the Gators, but I thought you liked him with the Gators. Or why? Because of the way he left the Gators?
No. I was always that guy that always said, I'm going to be the only guy that can look in the mirror, the only Gator that can look in the mirror and say, I never liked that SOB when he screws us. I never, ever liked him. Ever. I'm the only one. Everybody will tell you I was the only Gator that never liked that guy. Never once.
All right. That's fine. I just didn't know.
Ask my family, ask anybody you want.
Look, you know that Spurrier is like Gator through and through. He played there, everything. Like, and then when Ron Zook came in, I kind of felt like it's out of place, but he wasn't there very long. And then Urban coming from Utah, and he's from Ohio originally. Like, he's coaching the Gators, but he's not a Gator necessarily. Even Dan Mullen was an assistant with the Gators for a while, so he fits better. I don't know. It just felt like he just was the coach there. He never was a Gator.
Right. The one thing that it really just rubbed me wrong and just made me like, I hate this guy forever. I already did, really, but I mean, I didn't have it out for him, was when he got the Ohio State job, which was less than a year after he quit for the second time.
Medical problems.
Right.
Medical
yeah.
issues.
He wanted to go to girls' volleyball games and all that. Yeah. Whatever, dude. The first month on the job, Muschamp was recruiting a kid. I want to say it was up in Ohio. And Oscar, that's what I call him, Oscar Liar. Oscar turned Muschamp into the NCAA with the allegation of some sort of NCAA rules violation. The NCAA investigated and found that Muschamp did nothing wrong. I mean, this was less than a year after he was the Gator coach. He's trying to turn us in and get us in trouble with the NCAA, and he got paid $1 million by dumbass Foley to the old AD to be like some consultant to the program after he retired. He didn't even give that $1 million back, so he's still kind of sort of on the payroll, and he's trying to get us in trouble with the NCAA over an erroneous, we did nothing wrong. Muschamp did nothing wrong. And he's trying to get us in trouble? Oh, no. I am sick to my stomach that they allowed him at the Swamp and announced him on the loudspeaker for the opener against FAU. I wanted to puke.
Good. See? At least you got that out. And he cut your boy Tebow from the Jags, too.
He just embarrassed Tebow, bringing him back there. That was just awful.
Brian Edwards, you could find him at VegasInsider.com, NFL and college football picks.
And they can go to BrianEdwardsSports.com if you want. And I got a good one on Oscar up there from earlier this week if they want to check it out.
Sounds good. And also check out our best bet video also on our YouTube channel. Brian's got his 3 SEC best bets for this week.
Last thing, since you got me on this, you can also go to VegasInsider.com and read what I wrote about Oscar Liar the day he quit to go watch girls' high school volleyball games. And ESPN announcers were like, it's so refreshing. It's going to do the family thing. And I wrote, I'll take another route. I'll admit it if I'm wrong. All this scumbag did was set himself up to get the Ohio State or Notre Dame job when it comes open. And I did not know Tattoo Gate was going to happen like a month later. And I said he would be back in coaching in a year or two.
He did, and it's not going to end well the way it's going in the NFL. NFL, not the same as college.
This is true.
Brian, thank you so much. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, K-Raj.
All right, you got it. There is Brian Edwards. And, I thought that the Gator fans loved Urban Meyer. I guess I'm wrong on that one. He won a national championship. He won 2 titles with them, right? Yeah, he won the 2 with they beat Ohio State and Oklahoma. So let's take a look at Major League Baseball I want to look at the games really quick for today, and then we'll head out of here. First, you have the White Sox and the Astros. They meet up, and Houston embarrassed Chicago yesterday. Now, the White Sox just have had problems all year with Lance McCullers Jr. They've lost him now 3 times this year. And Lance Lynn is not the guy he was earlier in the season. You saw he probably is not 100% healthy. So the Astros won game 1. Now this line is at 120 for today at BetMGM. And Lucas Giolito takes the mound for Chicago. He threw a complete game against Houston earlier this season when they met in Chicago. And this White Sox team, listen, they need a better performance, obviously. The offense did nothing yesterday, and the Astros got some key hits. And, again, McCullers has had the White Sox number. I feel like Giolito's got the Astros number a little bit. Framber Valdez goes for the Astros today. Short line in Houston, and the Astros laid 120 there. The second game of the day, the Brewers and the Braves in Milwaukee. And Corbin Burns is going to get the ball in the opener for the Brewers. And the guy was a Cy Young candidate, is a Cy Young candidate. It's he and Max Scherzer and Walker Buehler of the Dodgers. Those guys are right now in that mix for the Cy Young. But also at the same time, Burns allowed 5 earned runs against the Braves when he faced them earlier this season in Atlanta. Milwaukee was down 4-0 in the first inning. They rallied back and won, so Burns got off the hook in that game. Charlie Morton goes for the Braves. He's got a lot of postseason experience with the Rays and with the Astros, and now his first year with Atlanta. Braves have a stacked lineup, but Atlanta plus 125 today as they take on Milwaukee in Game 1 of their NLDS series. Game 2 between the Red Sox and the Rays at St. Pete at Tropicana Field. If you saw this last night, an incredible play. Randy Arozarena from the Rays, who had a big World Series last year against the Dodgers, he had a home run last night. He stole home as well. And I mean, the guy's fast as anything. And Tampa Bay cruised past Boston. Nelson Cruz hit a ball off the catwalk. I mean, I would have liked to see how far it would have gone if it didn't have the catwalk there at Tropicana Field. But the Rays go with Shane Baz today. I think I'm saying his name right, B-A-Z, opposite Chris Sale. Sale, who's from Lakeland, which is just east of St. Petersburg in the Tampa area. He went to Florida Gulf Coast. He's pitched very well at Tropicana Field over the years. But now Chris Sale at plus 120. And the Red Sox, they used Eduardo Rodriguez last night, inning and 2/3. Nick Pivetta went 5 innings out of the bullpen. So I don't know what the Red Sox bullpen situation is if Sale can't go very long today. But Tampa Bay laying 145. And the final game of the night, Dodgers and the Giants. First time they're ever meeting in the postseason, which is kind of unbelievable. But again, it makes sense because they were in the same division for years. And the only way they would meet is if one was a wild card team and one was a division winner. these teams have both obviously been division winners over the years, but just hasn't worked out. But you have Walker Buehler going for LA and Logan Webb, who beat the Dodgers 3 times this year. He pitched very well against them. The note for Walker Buehler here, LA was 3-3 in the 6 starts he made against San Francisco. In all 3 losses, the Dodgers were a 180 favorite or higher. In the 3 wins, he was a favorite of 150 or lower. So this is more of that price range for Walker Buehler. And San Francisco, best record in baseball, 1 game better than LA, but they are a short underdog tonight at home against the Dodgers, 7 total at BetMGM, and that will wrap up the night at 9:30 in Major League Baseball. And you have 3 games in college football tonight as Charlotte plays FIU in Conference USA action. Charlotte's a 3.5-point favorite. Temple and Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a huge favorite, 4-touchdown favorite against Temple. And we'll see what the Bearcats do after the Notre Dame win last week. Temple shocked Memphis last week. They were down 17-0 in that game. It was an 11-point dog, and they came all the way back and beat Memphis. But obviously we know what kind of powerhouse Cincinnati is. And the late game is Stanford and Arizona State out west. And Arizona State's not been a good home favorite under Herm Edwards. Stanford, we've seen what they've done with their victory a few weeks ago against USC, and now they're a double-digit dog against Arizona State coming up tonight, that game in Tempe. Now, before we get out of here, our good friends at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. This is a promo for new players. You bet $10, you go win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. It's very easy. Bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Again, new players only, must be 21 or older, and it's legal in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. Full terms and conditions apply. That's BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks. I am Kevin Rogers. Want to thank Stephen Nover and Brian Edwards for joining me today. You can check out their picks at VegasInsider.com for the NFL and college football. And we'll talk to you again coming up on Monday. And every Monday we are joined by Dave Sharapan, former odds maker, and he will be with us coming up on Monday afternoon at noon Eastern. If you missed any of our conversation with Stephen Nover or Brian Edwards, you can always find it on VegasInsider.com. The live stream will be up the entire day on our homepage and also on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, best of luck with your bets.